All right. So stress less, live more. So part of the stress is a positive thing. We need to have some stress to help us get motivated in life. It's a key to accomplishing things that we need to do in life, and it gets us out of negative situations. So the goal of like entirely eliminating stress is not going to happen. We need it as a motivating factor in our life. So what we need to do is we need to have more of a livable relationship with stress. So when we have excess and sustained stress, it's going to deplete our adrenals. It's going to decrease our energy. It's going to make us feel out of sorts. We're not going to have the energy we need to get things done, or we'll have like energy that doesn't have a rhythm to it. It's going to stress our hearts. There's definitely lots of evidence about stress and heart disease, hypertension, all sorts of issues that happen with the heart as a result of excessive stress that's not managed appropriately. It weakens our immunity. I mean, lots of people know, like, when you are a student, people get to the end of the semester and they are really excited to have a break, and then they get sick, right? It's a very common experience that people have. So it also can weaken our immunity and make us more susceptible to many chronic illnesses and diseases and things like that. So the more, again, that we can manage our stress, the more strength we'll have with our immunity. It also frazzles our nerves. It makes us like feel hypervigilant. It makes us feel out of sorts. It leads also to increased pain and physical and mental tension. The, the more we can create a reduction in stress in our physical body, the less pain we'll have, no matter what. It contributes to insomnia. It contributes to depression. It contributes to increased anxiety. It shortens our lifespans, really, stress does. And it definitely impairs our digestion. That's sometimes one of the ways that people, before they actually physically are aware of our stress, we're having a somatic experience, right? So a somatic experience would be a physiological body experience. And oftentimes people feel that with their stomach first, with their digestion or pain. Those are the two ways people probably feel it first before they're actually be like freaking out. They feel it in their body. So a lot of what we need to do with stressing less is relaxing our body more, because if we relax our body, our mind will follow. So the good news is that we can do that, and our brains can be rewired to handle stress better. So stressing less is a practice, just like everything is. It's not a one-time shot. You got to keep on practicing it, because the stress will keep on rolling in no matter what, right? So we can do this by activating a relaxation response every day, working on whether it's meditation or prayer or exercise, however acupuncture, massage, chiropractor, many different ways to elicit a relaxation response. We can do it through a healthy diet. We can do it, as I said, through exercise, spending time creating balance in our life through our sleep schedule, through having solitude, but also having time with others, and accepting and acknowledging who we are as individuals and being authentic to ourselves. I mean, I've been an acupuncturist now coming up on 20 years now, which is hard to believe, but that's been a long time. And I find that one of the things that people, and I know I struggle with this a lot myself, is trying to be something different than I am. And I think that there's all sorts of different animals in the zoo, right? We don't expect an elephant to be a bird, and we don't expect a chimpanzee to be a hippo. So we all have to figure out what kind of animal we are and act accordingly. So it's acknowledging who we are and then living that life the best that we can. So let me move my slides here. Okay, hold on. All right, perfect. So do you guys see the general adaptation? Okay, perfect. So there's a certain way that stress works in our body. So the first phase would be something called the alarm phase. And the alarm phase, sometimes people know it as fight or flight. Um, it is a response to a stressor. It's a normal response. This might happen with something like you're driving and all of a sudden someone cuts you off, right? That you might have this kind of alarm phase kick in. And that's where you have an adrenaline burst. Your heart rate might increase a little bit. Your breathing increases. You might get a little sweaty. It's a normal response. It's a normal and healthy response to happen to something that is a stressor. So what we need to do is we need to like at that point we need to like let that stress go. We can't let the person cutting us off, you know, in the car affect us throughout the rest of the day, or God forbid throughout the rest of our life. The alarm phase should be shut down fairly rapidly depending upon the stressor. If it's not, we move into what's called the resistance phase. And this is where the acute stress is resolved, but the body continues to react to it. So in this phase, the heart and the adrenals become a little bit more challenged. So maybe that's that your heart, your blood pressure increases and it stays increased. Your adrenals start secreting more cortisol because you feel really stressed and angry, or whatever the emotional response might be, and your body continues to react. So you begin to dump more cortisol, which is a stress hormone, into your body, and maybe your blood pressure stays up. So the resistance phase, we need to try to not keep that going. This is where, after the alarm phase, we want to try to create a relaxation response. And sometimes a very simple thing is just like, if you were in the car, right, is just stopping and just taking a few deep breaths. It can be that simple to just shut that down, right? So if that resistance phase keeps on going, then we get to what's called the exhaustion phase. And the exhaustion phase is where the stress reduction just never occurred, or it didn't occur in a substantial enough way, and the body just cannot adapt properly. And when it can't adapt properly, we get to the body collapsing, like the body having chronic stress, like different potential illnesses and things can creep in at this point, because our ability to adapt becomes very, very challenged. So we want to avoid that exhaustion phase at all costs, you know, really. The alarm and the resistance phase are much easier for us to manage rather than pushing further out to that exhaustion phase. So let's move to our next slide here. And this is a slide about the brain and stress. So we've got a cool picture of the brain here. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. This is our fight or flight response. The interesting thing about the parasympathetic, that is the relaxation response, is that you can create a relaxation response in as little as 5 minutes. So when you get triggered by a stressor, you can bring that stressor back down pretty quickly in even like as little as 5 minutes, maybe even as little as 2 or 3 minutes, if you keep on practicing reducing your stress. Then we have what's called the so we also have what's called the amygdala in our brain. And the amygdala, you can see it on our brain picture here. The amygdala, it's an almond-shaped thing in our brain, in our temporal lobe, and it is responsible for our memory of an emotion. So it gets especially triggered when we feel fear or anxiety. The smaller the amygdala, the smaller that is, the less reactive to stress you are. So that means that the less reactive to stress you are, that probably means that you are doing a stress reduction program that is helping you to respond to stress in a more healthy way. We see larger amygdalas in people who have higher levels of anxiety and stress. The interesting thing about the amygdala is that you can reduce the size of the amygdala by doing a stress reduction program. And they've done some studies where they do an MRI of the brain, and they see that after 8 weeks of a mindfulness stress-based reduction program, and I put at the end of my of the outline, there's a link for UCSD's mindfulness stress-based reduction. I'm pretty sure I put it on there. Yeah, if I didn't, I can send it to you. But UCSD has a program, and there's several programs across the country that's called mindfulness-based stress reduction, MSBR programs. And when people do that, when they do those 8-week programs, they find that amygdala gets smaller, it shrinks. So it's quite interesting, the power of a stress reduction program, a meditation program, a yoga program. It has all those elements to it. Then we have what is called our prefrontal cortex. And our prefrontal cortex it looks for an explanation to the stress. It processes the stress information. It helps us to think about it. It helps to absorb the stress through our senses, through our vision, through our hearing, our sensory expression of the stress. It is the goal with reducing our stress is to try to create a pause. And when we create a pause, the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala will work together to react appropriately to stress, right? So you don't have to get cut off by someone, with your car, and then have the whole day ruined because that happened, okay? That you can find a way that when you create a pause, so that might be just taking a deep breath, it might be pulling the car over and just like sitting there for 5 minutes and getting your wits about you again, because they work together to help with a relaxation response that will help you to not go from that alarm phase into the resistance phase of stress. So the prefrontal cortex does that. And then we have what's called the hippocampus, which is involved in the adrenal rhythms and the management of the cortisol or the stress hormone. And what the hippocampus does is it works with the adrenals. So if you don't know what the adrenals are a gland in our body that sits on top of our kidneys. And the adrenals are involved. They work with the brain. They work with the brain at regulating the rhythms and regulation of our stress hormones in our body. They help us to manage stress with the brain. The combination of the two helps. It's also the hippocampus that records our memories of stress. And when these adrenal rhythms and this chronic stress begins to become a chronic stress syndrome, then it begins to impair our memory. So another big negative of having chronic stress is our cognitive function, our memory becomes impaired as a result of stress. So we really, really want to work with reducing our stress to eliminate the potential for a cognitive impairment as we grow older, right? We already have so many other things in the environment that are affecting us. That's one thing we actually have some control over, is our stress management. Sometimes I think that we feel like that we don't, but we actually have a tremendous amount. It's all up to us how we respond to something. So that's part of what the goal is with stress reduction, is realizing that we are actually at the wheel with this. So, so moving right along to the relaxation response here. Let's see here. So there we go. Our relaxation response. So with a relaxation response, what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect the body, the mind and the body, and we can do this through a variety of different ways. Some of the best ways to do this is through meditation, through yoga, through stretching. The body, the mind will follow the body. And I really have, like, I'm a very brainy kind of girl, and I like put a lot of focus on my brain sometimes, and I override my body. And I think my brain is in charge when really our bodies are far more in charge. And if we could all just get into our body more and stop listening to our brain as much, we'd probably be in much better shape. So it really is that the body will when the body is relaxed, the brain will eventually relax too. So my goal has been recently for my own self is just to even though with my meditation sometimes, and I like to do a lot of guided meditations, oftentimes my meditations involve my mind going, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing something? Get up, get up, get up. We're bored. Like, this is stupid. Why are you doing that? Right? So I just like keep on going back into my breathing. So focusing our attention on the breath, right? We focus our attention on breathing. Oftentimes people count the breath, and I just focus on relaxing my body and ignoring my brain. All right, ignoring all the chatter of the brain and relaxing the body. It really is the somatic experience, the body experience, and the relaxation of the body is really where all of our healing will happen. It's our brain that kind of throws us off track. I hope that makes sense. So one of the ways we can do that is through a body scan. There's a ton of them, out there on Spotify, on YouTube, where we go through the different parts of the body, and we breathe into those areas. Like, you breathe into your head, you tighten up your muscles, and then you relax them on the out breath. And then you can go through your arms, through your hands, and you breathe in. So that would be a body scan. We go all the way down to our feet. Oftentimes when we do this, we can create a relaxation response as well by putting our hand on our heart when we do this. So you can do this like when you've had a very stressful situation happen. Sometimes people like intuitively put their hand on their heart or your hand on your cheek. That is actually a way to elicit the vagus nerve. A vasovagal response is when we put our hands on our cheeks or we put our hand on our heart. It helps to calm the body down. So doing that when you're doing a body scan is to hold your hand on your heart. With breathing, there's many different ways to do conscious breathing. Oftentimes people will do in through the nose, and you would count in through the nose for the count of 4. And then we hold our breath for a count of 2. And then we breathe out through our mouth for a count of 6. That's a wonderful way to elicit a relaxation response. We can also elicit our relaxation response through self-reflection. That might be through meditation. Again, 5 minutes of meditation a day will elicit this parasympathetic response, which helps with calming the nervous system down and relaxing us. We can do this through affirmations. For some people, if they don't want to do meditation, they oftentimes will do chanting. They'll do prayers like the Serenity Prayer. I'm sure y'all know of the Serenity Prayer. So, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes people just chant that over and over and over as a way to create a meditative response. And chanting, there's many different types of chanting that we can do as well, that that are based in the Ayurvedic and Indian tradition where you can chant. Like one is Om Mani Padme Om, like people will do that, or they'll just do Om over and over again. Many different ways to do a self-reflection, relaxation, meditation experience, to relax ourselves. The other thing, and there's so much research on this, is gratitude practices. There is, there's been a huge movement in the happiness, like the happiness world, where people do these full-blown studies on happiness, like what creates more happiness in people's lives. And one thing that they find is that people who have more gratitude are happier. And oftentimes what is recommended, what they find, is that people who write down 3 things they're grateful for every single day, and writing them actually helps, to the actual writing of them, or putting them in your phone, or however you want to do that. But the actual writing of the gratitude every single day helps to relax us and helps to reframe and give us more of a sense of purpose and a sense of relaxation and more ease in our life when we do a gratitude practice. And oftentimes people try to create something different every single day. That's not necessary to do that. I mean, like, most people that have heard me speak before know how much I love coffee. Like, so I oftentimes, that's part of my gratitude practice, is my coffee. I mean, I don't overdo it, but it is one of my favorite things in the whole entire world, so it comes to my gratitude list very frequently. And I've done a couple years ago, I did a gratitude list for a year. I did 3 things every single day, and it was wonderful. It was a really helpful way to reframe, because the way our brain works, and that we're all like in this time of human evolution where our brains are developing more, is that 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, at the beginning, of like man and woman's brain have been developing. So there's a tendency, when we have a stress response, we go into what they call lizard brain. And lizard brain is like, goes into a fear place. It goes into a fear place where everything's wrong. So a gratitude practice helps us to reframe that and realize that there's more going right, because here we are, right? If we weren't here, obviously things aren't going right. So gratitude practice helps us with that. Also, journaling. I love to journal. Not everyone's a journaler, but there's a lot we can do to create a relaxation response by creating lists. Oftentimes people feel so overwhelmed by their lives, and a great way to create a relaxation response is write it down. Right? I mean, it's a very simple recommendation, but it's a very, very effective recommendation, is to write down what you need to do. Write down what you need to do. There's also wonderful ways that you can do journaling, where people, when they're having lots of fears and worries, is that you can do what are called, it's like called a worry purge, where you write down all your worries on a page. You can also do a victory page, where you write down all the things you're proud of or that you feel victorious about. That's a great thing to do to create a more of a balance. You can also write all of your stressors down, so you get it out of your brain and onto paper. It's actually kind of funny when you write them down. Sometimes it can really make something that feels scary and overwhelming a lot lighter. So those are some really kind of easy keys that you can do every day. The other thing is something called acceptance and adaptation. So I'm going to read a quote by Lao Tzu. So it's, life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. That's a good one. Let reality be reality. So acceptance is a state of mind. It's where we realize the situation, we recognize what it is, we accept that situation. We do not try to change or protest it. It's like COVID. There's nothing we can do about this except for get your vaccine, wear your mask, however you feel about it, like stay home until this passes. That, like, if this isn't the year of acceptance, I don't know what is. I mean, it has been a really intense time of acceptance. You don't have to like it, right? But you should try to accept it, right? Acceptance is huge. um and that when we accept, then we relax into it with our body, even if we don't like it. Okay, so acceptance is very, very important. And then we adapt, right? You got to go to the grocery store, you got to eat, you put on your mask, right? We adapt, we act accordingly to the situation. We allow it we allow it to so our life can flow with greater ease. We fit and we try to fit into life as it is. And I think that's such an important thing. I know that I do, as part of my human conditions. We get caught in this place where we want things to be different than they are. And sometimes the biggest stressors are our lack of acceptance about what is. Sometimes we just have to accept where we're at, when we're there, and just move forward from that place. So that's a huge part of creating a relaxation response, is being with where we are right here and now. So we can create this acceptance and adaptation by changing our mindset, right? By seeing things in a different way, by finding meaning in life. That's a huge aspect of life, and creating less stress is finding meaning in your life, whatever that might be for you. Your garden, your kids, your coming to the meetings, whatever that is finding meaning in your life. Letting go of your regrets and forgiving yourself is also a very key part of learning to accept and adapt. I think that we are our worst enemies sometimes by not being kind to us. I think that I was given a recommendation many years ago to carry a picture of yourself as a small child in your wallet or in your day timer or wherever you can see that, and be nice to little Enid, otherwise known as little Rosie, or little Martha, or little whoever. Be nice to that person. We are so hard on ourselves, and that creates a tremendous amount of stress in our life by being mean to ourselves. And when you see a little picture of yourself when you're a little kid, it's hard to be mean to her, or him, right? And we also need to remember to do things that help us to grow. That creates a stress reduction. And we need to also do things that make us a little bit uncomfortable, help us to do things that um, are like make us feel a little out of sorts, so we can try something new. And then living a balanced life. And everybody's, again, going back to, there's lots of different animals in the zoo, right? So because there's different animals in the zoo, we all have to accept what a balanced life for us. For some people, like, they can only work 4 hours a day. Some people, they can work 10 hours a day. Whatever that is, some people can exercise every day. Some people have to exercise every other day. So you find what that balance is. And you should be finding that balance and getting a good sleep hygiene, right? A good sleep schedule. You should do that through healthy food. Everybody's diet, and we're going to talk about diet in a second. There's many, many different ways to approach diet and health and healing with your food. I'm going to give you some of the ideas that I have. But there's not one way to do it, right? Everybody has different ways to do it, but finding that balance for you, what's unique to you. Finding a balanced, healthy life with a mindfulness program, whether that be meditation or prayer work, or chanting, listening to music, something you do where you quiet your mind every day and you relax your body. And then of course, like I said before, is our is exercising. Daily exercising is a way that we create balance too. So that would be those are all things we can do that are somewhat straightforward to create and activate a relaxation response each day. So moving right along, we'll move on into the nutrition. So with nutrition, we have and I'm looking at my outline as well. We have the basics. So the basics with our diet is protein. So we want to do protein about 3 times a day. So what is protein? So protein would be things like animal proteins. So that could be turkey or chicken or fish. It would be eggs. Dairy would fit into a protein. When I say protein, I mean like a complete protein. So eggs, animal proteins, dairy, quinoa. If you guys know quinoa, that's a complete protein. Rice and beans is a complete protein. So when we do protein 3 times per day, it helps us feel more grounded. Protein's one of those things that kind of helps you get back into your body. It makes you feel in your body. It's a grounding experience to eat protein. It also helps to stabilize our blood sugar. When we eat too many refined carbohydrates or we don't eat enough protein, we oftentimes will have our blood sugar kind of goes up and down. When our blood sugar goes up and down like this, that can create a lot of stress on our system, on our internal organs, but it also creates a lot of mental stress. When we eat protein 3 times a day, it helps with our brain's ability to function and focus. So protein is a really key aspect of focusing and helping to focus and stay embodied is a great way to describe that. We also want to focus on what are called complex carbohydrates. What complex carbohydrates are, they're the carbohydrates that are higher in fiber. So overall, we want to eat about at least 25 grams of fiber a day. This is a lot of fiber. People think of fiber as vegetables. Fiber is not vegetables, okay? There is fiber in vegetables, but you have to eat a lot of vegetables, which I'd love you to eat a lot of vegetables, but you have to eat a lot of vegetables to get a lot of fiber. So the best way with complex carbohydrates is beans. Beans are a wonderful way to get more fiber in your diet. If you eat beans, like about a half a cup of beans a day is about 7 grams of fiber. All right. Another great complex carbohydrate is quinoa. Quinoa is also a very good source of fiber. I think quinoa, I'm guessing a little bit with this, but quinoa, I'd say probably like a half a cup of quinoa is probably like 3 or 4 grams of fiber, maybe even more. So these are great ways to get fiber. And what fiber and complex carbohydrates do is they help to give you more endurance through your day, to have more focus, more clarity, and again, to feel more embodied. When you feel more embodied, so what I mean by embodied is that you are more in your body, that you will have less stress. You'll be able to be more resilient, because that's our goal, is to be more resilient. So complex carbohydrates, so beans, whole grains. Whole grains would be brown rice. A very good example of a whole grain would be things like sprouted breads, like Ezekiel bread. If you guys know the Ezekiel breads, those are a great source of fiber. They have a couple of grams per bread of fiber. So when you start to look at fiber and complex carbohydrates, when you look at complex carbohydrates, that's where you'll find most of your fiber. So beans, whole grains, sprouted grains are a great way to do that. And try to do those about, with each meal, so say in the morning you have you know, maybe oatmeal and a hard-boiled egg, right? Oatmeal is a great way to get in a good amount of fiber, gives you a lot of energy for your brain to start the morning. The egg gives you some focus as well. You know, maybe you have a sandwich at lunch and you do like a sprouted grain bread with avocado is a great way to get some fiber, maybe a little bit of turkey, maybe you have a little vegetarian soup, you know, on the side, little vegetable soup on the side. At dinner, you could do fish, you could do quinoa, you could do some steamed vegetables. These are great ways to get more complex carbohydrates and protein throughout the day. If you're a vegetarian, you know, there's many different complete proteins you can do as well. And then we want to look at getting fruits and vegetables every day. Not, I mean, and we want to put more focus, like, because people are like, oh yeah, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And then I'll ask them like, well, when was the last time you had a vegetable? Oh, like a couple of days ago. Well, that's not really sufficient to have vegetables a couple of days ago. You really should have vegetables every single day. So an easy way to get vegetables in, if you struggle with this, is to make a vegetable soup. You can put so many vegetables in a soup, you know. It's also, you can make it in your crock pot. It'll, like, you know, you can freeze what you don't use, but you can put your kale in there. You can put your broccoli in there. You can put your green beans in there. You can use bone broth if you want to. If you're a vegetarian and you don't do that sort of thing, you can make it with miso. You can put beans in there. I mean, vegetable soups are a great way to get a ton of vegetables in a concentrated cup, right? Also, a smoothie is a good way to do that. So oftentimes, like, my husband makes us a smoothie every morning. He does frozen spinach with berries and chia seeds. And that's you know, he sometimes does a little bit of pineapple or something in there too. But berries are a really good source of fiber, especially raspberries and blackberries. And then he puts spinach in there and chia seeds, which are a wonderful source of fiber. They're also a very good source of magnesium and omegas. So about a tablespoon of chia seeds, I think, is 3 or 4 grams of fiber. So it's a really mega fiber packed smoothie every day. So that's a way we can get greens. So if you made a little smoothie in the morning or had that at lunch, or you can have it as a snack, you have a smoothie, and then you could do your vegetable soup later. And hey, maybe even some steamed vegetables later if you wanted to. So we want to get those fruits and veggies every day. So, and you want to get a wide variety of colors. Okay. So we want to get the oranges, the greens, the yellows. This is a great picture. This picture that we have on our slide here, you know, our bell peppers, they come in red and yellow and green, our carrots. So trying to get a mixture of those. That's the beauty of doing the vegetable soup, is you can get all those colors in pretty easily. All right. So also sweet potatoes. I love myself some sweet potatoes. I'm kind of addicted to sweet potatoes. I have been for many years. They're a staple of mine. Like, I kind of almost every day I do a baked sweet potato with a little, I do eat some animal protein. I do a baked sweet potato with steamed broccoli and a little bit of chicken and a little bit of goat cheese, a little bit of like the goat cheese, the chèvre version, the soft version. It's delicious. That's like kind of a staple dinner of mine, you know. So sweet potatoes are very good for your immune system as well. So let's see where I'm at here. So in moderation, we want to be moderate with caffeine. So, you know, generally speaking, as you all know, like I am a coffee drinker. I do like myself some coffee. But we want to be moderate with that. I mean, depending upon the person, for most people, I don't think you should really drink more than about 2 cups of coffee a day, or 2 cups of anything caffeinated per day. All right. Caffeine definitely will deplete some of the magnesium in our body. It'll deplete it's not that great for our bones when you overdo the caffeine. It can be kind of create some problems with our body's ability to assimilate our calcium and magnesium in our body. So we want to be cautious with that. There is a decent amount of studies about not to push coffee so much, but I can't help myself. The there's a decent amount of studies about cognitive focus and brain resiliency and neuroplasticity with coffee. So coffee many years ago got a bad rap, but now we know that coffee it's known as a nootropic. So it actually is very good for helping with mental focus and helping with resiliency and neuroplasticity in our brain when we don't overdo it, right? When you don't overdo it, when you do it with moderation. Also, one thing with coffee that I would always recommend is that you do organic coffee. Coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops as far as pesticides go. And because it has an oily quality, those pesticides really hold on and they get deep into the coffee beans. So do organic whenever possible. Trader Joe's has a ton of organic coffees. And so do most grocery stores now, but they have a really good organic French roast that is just maybe $1 or $2 more than the non-organic. So that would be my one recommendation with coffee. You also want to use moderation with alcohol. Obviously, there's, studies that show that wine and things like that in moderation can be good for heart health and things, but we always want to be cautious and careful with things like alcohol. Processed food, everybody has to find their percentage of what works for them. I'm kind of an 80-20% kind of girl. So 80% of my diet is pretty clean. I eat almost all my food I make myself, but I have a 20% kind of wiggle room where, like last night I went and saw some friends outside at an outside eatery place, and there was French fries. I had French fries. There's my 20%. Okay. So, it's a life of balance. So like finding what is moderate for you. I'm not going to eat French fries every day. They sound, but trying to figure out what works best for you. For me, I like the 80-20 works for me. And most days I probably am a 90-10. 90% of what I eat is pretty clean. I have a very sensitive digestive system, so I need to be careful. My digestive system says you can have some fries, but not too many. So we want to be careful. So what processed foods would be in mostly anything that is like cakes and cookies, things that are in a box most of the time would be considered processed. Fast food would be considered processed, but most of your white foods, white bread, white rice, white pasta, those would be more processed foods. I also, not everyone, we want to use some moderation for many with gluten and dairy. Not everyone has a problem with gluten. I've been gluten-free now for probably at least 5 years. I've been gluten-free. I have found that it's been hugely helpful for my digestive issues. I often tell people that are having more of an increase in pain or an increase in digestive problems, take gluten out for like at least a month and see how you do. If you don't notice a change, then it's probably not significant. But oftentimes people will notice a change. And gluten would be in wheat, and there's several grains that it's in. So you'll see gluten-free on packages, like rice is gluten-free, quinoa is gluten-free, beans are gluten-free. There's many gluten-free things that you can substitute, many gluten-free breads as well. And then I would also use moderation with dairy. Dairy is one that it creates more phlegm. It can create more digestive upset. Oftentimes, as people grow older, they have more problems with digesting dairy. So I always am a little bit more cautious with dairy. But some people do great with it. If you do great with it, go for it. Dairy, like things like yogurt, can be an exceptionally good way to get some good protein. And it can also be a great way to get some good probiotics that are great for your digestion. So everyone has to find what works for them. Again, there's not one way for everyone. Then we have our stress relieving foods. So our stress relieving foods would be our leafy greens. All right. So our leafy greens, they're stress relieving because they're very alkalizing to our system. They help to move our bowels. So they help us to have good completion of our bowel movements every day. They support our stomach as well. They're very good for helping create more of a balance of our acid alkaline balance in our body when we eat more green foods. So green foods, remember, would be broccoli, like romaine lettuce is on there, spinach, kale, chard. Those would be our green beans, eating more greens. Most green vegetables are also very high in folic acid, and they are very high in, they're really antioxidant rich. Some of them are very high in things like lutein, which are good for your eyes. They're just full of antioxidants, and antioxidants are good for helping us with anti-aging, but they're also very good for our brain. And if our brain and its neuroplasticity and it's working better, it's going to help to reduce our stress. Then oatmeal. I think I put oatmeal on there. Yes, turkey and oatmeal. So, oh wait, let me hold on. Let me move to oh, sorry. I thought I had to move to my next slide. Sorry about that. So our turkey is a great one for helping with reducing stress. It is high in tryptophan. So that's why people often say after Thanksgiving meal, right, they get sleepy because it's high in tryptophan. Oats are fantastic as a stress supportive food. They help to promote serotonin, the increase of serotonin in our system. Serotonin helps us, it's a feel good transmitter in our body that helps us it has a calming effect in our body. It helps to calm our nerves. It's also very high in fiber. It's a complex carbohydrate that's going to help us with having more mental health and endurance throughout our day. So oatmeal is a great way to start the day. Sometimes people also make like a raw oatmeal cookie where you use oats with like a nut butter, like an almond butter or peanut butter. And they do an oatmeal nut roll where they roll it together, and they have that as like almost like a protein bar. That's a great way to give yourself a little bit of energy kind of midday. You put a little cinnamon in there, a little tiny bit of honey to get it to stick a little bit better if you need to, but that's a great way to incorporate some of the oats into your diet if you don't want to eat it for breakfast. Then we have yogurt. So yogurt you can find as a dairy version, but you can also find like coconut yogurt and cashew yogurt. Those all have probiotics in them. My recommendation would be to try all yogurt because it's fermented is going to have some sugar in it. The fermentation process creates some sugar. So I would usually recommend is that you do a Greek yogurt, or you do a yogurt that is more of a plain yogurt and add things like berries to it. Because when they add more of the other ingredients to it, sometimes the level of sugar can be very, very high. So Greek yogurts are wonderful. They tend to be a little bit low. They tend to be I think they're about 13 grams of sugar or something like that. But they're very filling. They're a really good source of probiotics. Our probiotics are the good bacteria that colonizes our colon, and they say that our second brain is our intestines, and that when our digestion is working more optimally, that our stress levels will be lower. All right, our stress levels will be lower when our digestion is working more optimally, because our brain and our intestines work together to help us have a stronger immune system, and they work together to help us to they're calming as well. Also, our intestines are what are absorbing all of our nutrients and sending that back up out into our bloodstream for our brain to get those nutrients to create more neuroplasticity, more of the neurochemicals that help us to manage manage our stress. So the good bacteria is really important. We can also get good bacteria. So you can get it in yogurt. You can get it in fresh miso and miso paste that you find in the refrigerated section at the health food store. Raw sauerkraut, you see that that's become a big rage now, is raw sauerkraut is a wonderful way to get good bacteria, is through raw sauerkraut. You can get it also through kimchi. Those are all ways that we can get more probiotics in our diet. If you haven't tried kombucha, not everyone likes kombucha. I love myself some kombucha, but kombucha is also, it's a drink that's a probiotic drink. Kefir, they make kefirs that are dairy-based kefirs as well as non-dairy-based kefirs. So those are all ways we can get more probiotics. And again, probiotics are a wonderful way from a food source to feed our gut, which in turn will feed our brain, which in turn can help reduce our stress. And then we get salmon. Salmon is a great stress relieving food. It's very high in omega-3s. It's great for our brain health, and it's definitely linked. Those omega-3s are linked to our memory and our ability to have better neuroplasticity in our brain to manage stress with greater ease. And then we also have our berries. Berries, one thing about the berries is you really want to be careful with doing berries organically. When it's strawberry season and you can buy organic strawberries, buy extras and clean them and chop them and throw them in the freezer. Berries are they're like coffee. They're one of the most highly sprayed foods when it comes to pesticides. So you want to eat organic berries whenever possible. And berries, they're antioxidant rich. They're full of antioxidants, and antioxidants are again good for our brains. They're good for our joints. They're good for our heart. They're great just for helping the whole system, our whole body work with greater ease. They also help to move our bowels. So if you struggle with constipation, raspberries and strawberries and blueberries with little chia seeds and spinach, like what Christian, my husband, makes that every day for us. Great for helping to keep your bowels and your body regular every day. It's also, there's a great amount of studies about blueberries and fighting dementia. Very good for helping with brain health. Blueberries are. They've tested it on rats, blueberries and walnuts that help with that. So then we get our nuts and seeds, and our nuts and seeds. So things like walnuts. Whenever you buy things like walnuts, you want to put them in the fridge, put them in a glass jar and put them in your refrigerator. They tend to go rancid pretty quickly. You usually know a nut is rancid if you eat the nut and it makes your mouth itchy, or the nut smells like sesame and it's not a sesame seed. But if anytime you have a nut that makes your mouth feel itchy, toss them. That's probably a rancid oil in that nut. So if you buy them in the bulk bins, that's fine, but buy them in the bulk bins and then take them home and put them in your fridge. The seeds, not as much. Chia seeds don't necessarily need to be frozen. They are very, very, they're really a hardy seed. Chia seeds are, like I said before, they're a very good source of magnesium. They're also a great source of fiber and omegas, but they tend to be, chia seeds are just, they're very hardy. You can put them in the fridge, but you don't have to. Flax seeds I would put in the fridge. Almonds are a little bit hardier. They don't have to be in the fridge, but you can totally keep them there, But all the nuts and seeds, many of the nuts and seeds are rich in the omegas. Things like almonds are also rich in magnesium. So they help to relax our muscles. They help to feed our brain. They're going to help. These are all foods that are going to help our body to manage stress better. And then avocado. So if you think of an avocado, it is kind of like our head, right? Like if we opened up our head, our skull, inside that, like the seed, right, of the avocado is our brain. Okay. So avocados are really good for your brain. They're very good for your brain. They also are an exceptional source of fiber. So if you have like they're an incredible source of fiber. I think that an avocado is maybe 4 grams of fiber for like a small avocado, maybe even a little bit more. So they're a great way to get more fiber in your diet. They're also very rich in vitamin E, which is good for your heart, vitamin B, which is also good for your nervous system and your brain. It's like avocados are brain food. Also, we think of there's in herbal medicine, we use a concept called the law of similars. And the law of similars is that if something looks like something, it's probably good for that thing. So like, as I said before, the avocado is kind of like a brain. The walnut looks like a brain too, right? It looks like both hemispheres of the brain. So those are all good ways to nourish our brain and help decrease our stress. And then of course, last but not least, dark chocolate. So dark chocolate would be really, you know, in the studies, they say 70% and up. I'm cheating here by saying 60% and up. But dark chocolate is an exceptional way, an exceptional antioxidant. It also helps to increase our endorphins. So, and it helps to, and our endorphins are what they're like the feel good um, transmitter. They help us to feel better. They're also very good chocolate. Dark chocolate is a very good source of fiber. And it's one of the highest antioxidant foods that you can eat. All right, so dark chocolate, 60%. And what you'll see when you buy dark chocolate that's 60%, the very first ingredient will be chocolate, will be cacao, okay? Because that means 60% of that bar is the cacao, okay? And the cacao, which is the chocolate, is the where the antioxidants are that are good for feeding our brain and helping with reducing stress, right? Oftentimes a little piece of chocolate can be one of those things that just like makes people feel better. All right, so dark chocolate, it's not a hard sell usually. All right. So moving right along to our herbal medicine. So let's see here. So our herbal medicine, so we have chamomile is up here at the top. It's that little white flower at the top with the yellow in the middle. Chamomile is such a good, it's such a wonderful, wonderful herb. It's so easy to use. It is very calming. It's very good for sleep. It is a very good digestive aid. Once in a blue moon, people are allergic to chamomile. It tends to be fairly rare, you know. I mean, if you make a chamomile tea and then you have a bunch of sneezing, then you're allergic to it, so don't do it, okay? But most people do great with chamomile. It's a very gentle herb, but a very efficient herb. So if you're using it for something like sleep or stress management, I would use it more towards the end of the day because of its relaxation properties. It sometimes makes people tired or fall asleep. So usually what I say is to put about 2 tea bags of chamomile in a cup of in your cup of tea or your cup of water. And if you are having a lot of digestive issues associated with stress, the longer you steep it, the stronger it will be. So the longer you steep it, the more bitter the chamomile will be. And it's a great one for the gallbladder health. So when people are having problems with their gallbladder, it's a great one for sometimes people get their intestines get kind of spastic, like they have irritable bowel syndrome. It's exceptional for that. It helps to calm the bowels down so they're not spasming. It's a great herb and it's so easy to use. And if you if you can handle a little bit of dairy, a most delicious way to do chamomile tea is to do just a very small dash of half and half with a little bit of honey. If you don't do dairy, you can do a little dash of oat milk or something like that, or you can just do it plain, but it's quite delicious with a little bit of milk in it or a little half and half. Then we have we have chamomile, and then we have green tea. So green tea is at the bottom right-hand corner. That's the green tea. And green tea is Very, very rich in antioxidants. Green tea is also has an ingredient in it known as L-theanine. And L-theanine is a nutrient that is very calming. So it gives people a sense of calm without making them sleepy. So green tea is one, some people are very, very sensitive to green tea, and it's kind of like coffee where they can't drink it past 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll have to try it and see how you do with it. But green tea is a great way to help with mental focus. And at the same time, it decreases your stress. It decreases your stress as well. There's like huge amounts of studies about green tea and cardiovascular health, green tea and dementia prevention, green tea and joint health. I mean, green tea is a very, very powerful herb to use every day, and you can do it as a tea. You can do it as a tea. Then we have holy basil. Sometimes you'll hear holy basil will also be known as Tulsi. So Tulsi, Tulsi. And that's an Ayurvedic herb. It's an Indian herb from India. It is used for they say there that they use it for attaining spiritual enlightenment. It helps to decrease our cortisol levels, and it's also been shown to help with managing blood sugar. And you can drink it like a tea as well. It tastes kind of like it has a basil kind of quality. There's a couple of really good, if you go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or Jimbo's, wherever you live, where your health food store is, you'll see Tulsi. They usually call it Tulsi in the tea section, Tulsi or holy basil. They're the same thing. And you'll see those, and they'll oftentimes will mix them with rose, or they'll mix it with peppermint. So if you don't like the flavor of it by itself, you can find it blended with other herbs to make it more palatable if you don't like the idea of a basil-y kind of tea. But a wonderful one for reducing stress, helping with your blood sugar, and helping you attain spiritual enlightenment. I mean, what can you say in a cup of tea? That seems pretty darn good to me. And then rhodiola. Rhodiola is, you don't find this one in a tea. You usually will find this one more in a supplement. This is the one that's down here that says shutterfly stalk. It's also known as Arctic root. And it was used in the Eastern European countries first. And they used Arctic root, otherwise known as rhodiola, for chronic stress. It's what is known as an adaptogen. Holy basil would also be known as an adaptogen. So it helps the body to adapt to stress with greater ease. It is also used for depression. It's used for memory. It decreases cortisol levels. So that's a stress hormone. It helps with people who have more weight in their middle of their body, like when people have more weight in their abdominal area. It helps with reducing that weight potentially because it reduces our cortisol levels. And it's very good for endurance with your mind and your body. It's very good for mental and physical endurance. Rhodiola is an interesting herb because for some people, when they initially take it, they'll get a lot of energy from it. And then later on, that will even out and you won't get that from it anymore. And this is what herbs that are adaptogenic, they kind of like tune the knobs of who you are. So you know what I mean? Like when you're trying to find the radio station, like it tunes those knobs. So rhodiola is one of those that will do that. So initially, like I say, it may make you sleepy too, that if you've not been getting enough sleep, it may make you tired. So when you try rhodiola, I usually recommend that people try it the first time, sometime maybe in the afternoon time. Right in the afternoon. So if they're going to get tired, it's not the beginning of the day. And if they're going to get energized, it's not the end of the day. And then see how you do with it. I love rhodiola. I've been taking it daily I've gone through periods where I've taken it at different times, but I take a blend. There's a company called Gaia. They make a blend of GAIA. They make a blend that has holy basil, rhodiola, and an herb called ashwagandha in it. And it's called stress stress support, I think is what it's called. You can always email me if I have that wrong. I can email you back. But they've changed the names a couple of times over the last year or so. But it's a wonderful combo for stress management. So that would be a great one to try. So herbs, and then moving on to our vitamins and supplements. So um, B complex, you know, if you're taking a multivitamin, you might very well be getting a B. If you're taking a multivitamin, you're getting your B vitamins in your multivitamin. So you don't necessarily need to add extra supplements. It's hard. It's hard for me as well. I end up adding a gazillion supplements, and then I got to go back and go, okay, Rose, you can't take 2,000 things a day. So it's hard. I'm always experimenting and trying new things and trying to hone in what I take. And then I take something for a little while and I take a break from it. And then I try something else. That's fine to do. That is totally fine to do. Depending upon what kind of issues you're dealing with your health, there's certain things that some people should probably always be taking. For me, something that I always take is probiotics. Probiotics they're just like a foundation for me. So I take them every day. I also take fish oil every day. Those are two foundations I always do. But other things you may change up. You may try something for a little while and then rotate to something different, and that's fine to do. But what B complex vitamins do is that they help to reduce our stress. When we're more stressed, we use more of the B vitamins. So examples of B vitamins, we know them as B6, B12, folic acid. These are all vitamins that are also good for our heart health and our brain health. They're good for supporting our adrenals too, and reducing and they're good for helping decrease our fatigue and increase our endurance and our stamina. B vitamins usually they calm our nerves, but they usually give us also a little bit of energy. So very good for stress in that way. And then fish oil. Fish oil is a great one for, it's a very good antioxidant. It's great for brain health. It's great for stress management. It is wonderful for joint health. We need more oils in our diet to lubricate our brain and to lubricate our joints and to lubricate our skin. So fish oil is a great way to do that. The omega-3s are hard to get in our diet. We get them through fish. We get them through flaxseed. We get them through chia seeds. We get them through walnuts, but you know, we usually need to supplement additional so we can have more of that for our brain health. And then magnesium. Magnesium is usually a supplement that you would take at nighttime. Minerals are best used in the evening time because our body absorbs them better that way, and they help with our sleep. There's a great product called Calm, and it's a magnesium powder. It's wonderful in chamomile tea at night to help with sleep. And what magnesium does, it helps calm our nerves. It helps reduce muscle spasms in our body. It's very good for our bone health, and it's great for headache prevention, and very good for stress management. It really helps when we get a lot of tension in our body to relax the body. My best recommendation with magnesium is that if you haven't taken magnesium before, a great way to do it is to do it in a great way to do magnesium is to do it in a powder form, because then you can dose it at a very small dose. So if the recommendation is a scoopful, maybe try a quarter scoopful, because magnesium also is a laxative. So sometimes if you have bowels that move with great ease, you may not need as much magnesium. So you want to do a little bit less magnesium in that case. But it's great. The powdered magnesiums are wonderful in tea, in the chamomile tea at nighttime. And then we have our magnesium, our vitamin C. Vitamin C is when we are under a lot of stress, our vitamin C gets depleted, and our vitamin C helps us with our immunity. You can supplement vitamin C, but you can also, vitamin C is pretty easy to get in your diet. You can get it through strawberries, you can get it through oranges. A great source of vitamin C is bell peppers. Have a lot of vitamin C. All of your greens have a lot of vitamin C. But it's fine to also supplement vitamin C. It's a water soluble vitamin. I love those little emergency packets. So you've probably seen those at Trader Joe's before. It's a powdered vitamin C that also has some electrolytes in it. So sometimes I use those after I exercise to, like if you're sweating, to put your good electrolytes back in your system and to get some vitamin C that way. And then, as I said before, probiotics would be things like acidophilus, is oftentimes people call probiotics acidophilus. That's one of the many strains of bacteria that pollinates our guts. And it is depleted when we are under stress. Our probiotics are also under stress. When we have more cortisol in our system, the cortisol, the stress hormone cortisol, also decreases our probiotics, our bacteria in our gut too. So we want to get the probiotics either in food form or in a supplement form. So depending upon kind of the other things that are going on in your with your health. And we definitely find that with probiotics that it lowers anxiety to do more probiotics, because again, the whole feedback loop between the gut, remember they call the gut the second brain, and the gut makes, I think 80% of our serotonin is made in our gut, and our serotonin is what relaxes us and helps us to feel better. So it's a really important one, is to do those probiotics either in food form or in supplement form, or a combination of both, really. And then moving right along to aromatherapy. I love aromatherapy. I use it a ton in my office. You can buy the essential oils in like you can buy them at the health food store. At Sprouts, there's probably the brand that you'll find at Sprouts or Whole Foods most commonly is a brand called Oracacia. That's a very good brand. There's also a lot of multi-level companies like Young Living. Lots of people sell Young Living, or doTERRA. There's many wonderful aromatherapy companies out there. Aromatherapy is it's the essential oil of the plant. It is the oils in the plant. They compare the essential oils in a plant are like our hormones in our body. But the essential oils in the plant help to protect the plant from insects and from the weather. So when a plant is under more stress, they secrete more essential oils. So that's why you'll find some of the very best quality essential oils will be in places where the plant is under the most stress. So what that means is that the French lavender that grows on the cliffs of France, facing the ocean, where the winds and the rain is constantly pummeling it, is probably some of the best quality smelling lavender you'll ever smell, because a plant is under stress all the time, and the plant responds to stress by making essential oils that protect it so it can continue to live. So we can use these essential oils the same way. So lavender is a wonderful one for de-stressing. Not everyone likes that smell or that scent, but it's a great one for skin, for helping with healing the skin. It's wonderful for calming. You can put a couple of drops of it on your pillow. You can dilute it in a little bit of lotion, like a little squirt of lotion and 1 drop of lavender, put it on the bottom of your feet before you go to bed at night. To help with relaxation and sleep. Lemon is another one. It's very uplifting and cheerful. It's great for helping with mental clarity. It's wonderful for when you're feeling blue, when you're feeling sad. Lemon uplifts the spirits. Rose is a very expensive essential oil. It is one that I think they say that, what is it? It's like one drop of rose is like 12 roses or something. I don't think I have that quite right, but rose essential oil is very expensive for a very good reason, because it takes a heck of a lot of roses to make the essential oil of rose. So, and rose is used for, it's oftentimes used for depression. It's great for relaxation. It's used for a lot of women's issues, things like perimenopause and menopause. Whenever I take my walks and there's rose bushes, I always shove my face right in those roses to get a good whiff of them. That's a great way to get your essential oils. Smell the flowers. Stop and smell the roses, literally, okay? Because you're smelling the essential oil when you smell the plant. And then bergamot. So if you're an Earl Grey drinker, right, the Earl Grey, the tea, bergamot is in Earl Grey. And that is, I love that scent. So if you're a tea drinker, you like really put your nose in the tea, okay? Same thing with peppermint. Peppermint is a great one for uplifting the spirits. You have some peppermint tea, like really breathe that in. But bergamot's great for lifting the spirits. It's good for depression. It's good for nervous tension. It's good for digestion as well. Again, you always want to dilute all of the essential oils. You can make a spray, and spray your room or spray your pillow or spray yourself. You can use it in a lotion and put it on your body, but I would always recommend dilute the essential oils. They do not come diluted, so you need to dilute them yourself, and it will tell you how to do that on the actual bottle as well. So that would be our aromatherapy. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is something called acupressure tapping. And at the end of let me grab something real quick here. At the end of the outline that I sent, there's a really good resource, a website that's called the Tapping Solution Foundation. That's where I got this part of my slide from. And what that is, they'll tell you more about tapping. But what tapping is, it is a way to deactivate the alarm phase. All right. So remember, at the beginning of the lecture, we talked about the alarm phase. So the alarm phase is where we initially have the stressor, and in order for that not to go into the resistance and the exhaustion phase, we want to stop it somehow, right? So acupressure tapping is a fantastic way to do this. So we do this it's because it helps to rewire our brain. And it helps to put the prefrontal cortex back online again. So rather than being caught up in our lizard brain, it helps us to reframe and take a step back. All right. So it helps to turn on the pause rather than go into lizard brain mode, and freak out. Okay. So we'll go through it together, and then I can do it on myself, and we can do it as a all together at once. So the first, what you do is that you figure out what the stressor is. What is stressing you out? So you say, like, maybe let's use the car example. Okay, like that you just got cut off by a driver. Okay. So you stop the car, and you could do this tapping pretty much anywhere. You stop the car, and the stressor is, I am very angry about being cut off. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is really mad and 1 is like not hardly mad at all, where are you? Like that, I'd say if you have to stop the car and pull it to the side of the road because you got so pissed off, you're probably like at a 7. So we'll say in this case, you're at a 7 as a stressor. So you say the stressor out loud, and then you create an affirmation. So you might say something like, I'm pretty good at creating affirmations pretty fast. So maybe in this case you say, I manage my stress with ease. I manage my stress with ease. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to start, we'll start with, and you can see, and should I make my scale bigger myself? I'll put myself on the main screen. Let me do just one more thing and then I'll close this out and make myself the bigger screen so we can do it together. So what we'll do, so if you well, you can follow me and it's in your outline, and it tells in your outline the order with which you're going to do the tapping, and we're going to tap each point, and then at the end of, and we're going to do our affirmation while we're tapping each point. And then at the end of the tapping session, we ask ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10, if we started at a 7, how do I feel now? Okay, so I'm going to close this out. Of course, this is always tricky for me. I think, okay, here we go. So give me into the show. Okay, there we are. And then, do you see me up there? Okay. And can you guys see me well enough, Martha? Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if I can. So we're all going to do our tapping together, all right? So we're going to start. So you start on the side of your hand. So feel free to do this along with me, okay? So the side of the hand, and you're going to tap. So it's a side right here, okay? So tap like this. Yeah, you got it. So I draw, and you can use your fingers or you can use your palm, whichever way you want to do it. And we're going to say, I am stress-free. Let's just use that for now. I feel stress-free. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. And then we're going to go to the inside of your eyebrow, okay? Right on the inside of the eyebrow. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. Then you go to the outside of your eyebrow. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. You're going to go underneath the eyebrow and you're going to tap. So we're tapping. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. Then we're going to go underneath the nose. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. Then you're going to go underneath your chin. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. Then we're going to go underneath your collarbone. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. And then you're going to go on the sides of your body, right here on the sides. Kind of if you're a woman, where your bra strap is. If you're a man, just like reach on over to the side. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. And then to the other side, I am stress-free. I am stress-free. And then we're going to go to the top of the head. I am stress-free. I am stress-free. And then we're going to ask ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is a like crazy stressed, how do you feel right now? All right. And then you're going to, and then, whatever that is, I feel pretty good. I'd say I'm a 2, not much stress at all. All right. And you can do that several times. You can do it, several times as a way to help reduce the stress. And you can do it really fast, I mean, you can do that in less than a minute, if you wanted to. You don't have to tap 3 times, but you can go through all of those points. So you'll see on your resources there with the Tapping Solutions Foundation, they have some YouTube tutorials and you can do that. It's an incredible way to help to reduce stress. You could do it every day just as part of your meditation and de-stressing practice, but you can always do it when you encounter a stressor, like if it's really bad, like go to and you're somewhere where you're go to the bathroom, do it in the bathroom, so find a place to do it. You can do it pretty quickly. I love that. I believe that they've used it there's some research and studies with it for people with post-traumatic stress syndrome, with some pretty significant results on how helpful it is for that. So great. Thank you guys so much. I'm ready for some questions. Of course, I thought I didn't have enough resources here and I had more than enough. So if anyone has any questions.